Currently, medical marijuana is legal in 28 states in the U.S. That means nearly half of Americans do not have access to this form of medical care. This forces families with sick relatives to move to a state with less restrictive marijuana laws. The Drug Enforcement Administration classifies marijuana as a Schedule I drug, but it does not belong in this category. Before I go on about medical marijuana, let me first talk about epilepsy. Epilepsy is defined as a debilitating neurological disorder characterized by numerous seizures caused by a sudden surge of electrical activity in the brain and is very damaging to a person's cognitive physical functioning. The brain has an equal amount of neurons to initiate and inhibit signals in the brain. A seizure occurs when these signals become unbalanced. Many with epilepsy have exhausted all possible treatments and need a new alternative option for medication. For this reason, marijuana needs to be moved from Schedule I to Schedule II or III so that more research can be conducted to find a strain that reduces the negative cognitive effects in order for it to be approved for medical usage by patients with epilepsy. The main question now is how epilepsy is connected to marijuana. The main components of marijuana that interest the medical community are THC and CBD. THC is what marijuana users obtain their high from, while CBD is the other component that can inhibit THC's psychoactive effects. Within the human body is the endocannabinoid system. Within the system are receptors that are closely linked to thought, memory, enjoyment, motor skills, and the ability to interpret time. Simply put, cannabinoid is a term used to identify a chemical compound that interacts with the cannabinoid receptors in the body's naturally occurring endocannabinoid system. Cannabinoids are found in the resin of marijuana as phytocannabinoids and in the body as endocannabinoids. When one metabolizes THC, it interacts with certain receptors and changes the way a person performs mentally, emotionally, and physically, but CBD can inhibit these effects the THC has on the brain. This CBD-THC interaction is what doctors and biologists are interested in medicinally because it brings attention to the idea that levels of THC and CBD can be controlled to produce the desired effects. Neurons communicate through a synaptic cleft into which vesicles from the axon of one neuron release their neurotransmitters to be taken up by receptors on the receiving neuron. Along with the receptors are ion-gated channels that allow ions such as calcium and sodium to flow into the neuron to change the charge, which then affects the signal being sent. Anti-epileptic drugs work by interacting with neurotransmitters in the brain. Seizures are caused by the overexcitation of neurons in the brain. Therefore, if the overexcited messages can be inhibited from being sent from one neuron to another, then it is possible to stop seizures from occurring. So how might marijuana act as an anti-epileptic drug? Since cannabinoids interact with receptors in the brain that alter certain neurological responses, the idea is that CBD and marijuana can be administered to halt the excitation happening within the neurons that is causing seizures. The main issue many people have with the idea of medical marijuana is the psychotropic effects that THC can have on the brain. One idea that has been experimented with is breeding marijuana to raise and lower CBD and THC levels respectively to get the desired effects. The problem is that a sufficient amount of research can't be done with the current restrictions on cannabis, so the correct levels are not yet known. This is why marijuana must be rescheduled from Schedule I to Schedule II or III so that the potential anti-epileptic effects of marijuana can be fully evaluated in order for it to be used medically. If this can be done, then more states are more likely to legalize medical marijuana, giving families with epileptic members a new hope.